And here we are, and as always, happy Monday. Welcome to the show, everybody. Of course, I'm your host, David Burrows, as always. Hope you're keeping well out there. What's keeping you busy these days? You know, like with the pandemic, of course, that we talk about every single day. We're having to adapt in many different ways. But are you keeping yourself busy in other ways? Are you learning new things? Are you learning new things about your family, maybe that you didn't know? Are you spending more time with them? Board games, and when I know why they call them board games, B-O-R-E-D, board games. That's what we used to say anyway, board games. So we had to play board games because we were bored, or it was a rainy day. If you're watching live today on Monday, it's raining right now, which isn't so terrible. We got to have the rain. You got to make the grass green, got to make it grow, all that sort of stuff. It's been a pretty good summer considering. I mean, aside from the pandemic, I mean, we could always do without that thing, right? But considering the way it's gone, if it had started at a different time of year, could you imagine if it started like Christmas Day or December 1st or something like that? So now I know I talk about this pandemic every week. I try, for a while there in the beginning was talking about it almost every day, putting it out there. And then it was like, okay, people are getting pandemic overload with stats and everything else, right? So I took a break from that. But I still think it's something important that we talk about. Just to create that awareness. The city of Sarnia is doing a great job of putting it out there, wash your hands and all that sort of stuff, wear your mask. I talked about it last week. I guess I got a few messages. Like apparently I did a bit of a rant last week on this whole pandemic thing. I don't usually do rants. I didn't mean it to be a rant, just kind of letting you know how I feel about it so that maybe offer some things for you to think about in all of this pandemic. I said last week, like, the mask, right? Yep, I got my branded mask there too. Selfishly a branded mask. I don't like wearing the mask. If I had a choice, I would never wear a mask again because that would mean that, well, we don't have to wear a mask, so that's good. And it's uncomfortable and all that sort of stuff. But I wear it anyway. I wear it anyway because I put my trust in the medical professionals. I don't believe there's a conspiracy going on or different things. No, I don't know, but I think if they're telling us we should wear the mask, we should probably wear the mask. I didn't like having to be told to wear my seatbelt years ago when they said now that's a law, and everybody grumbled about that. Not everybody, but lots of people grumbled. But I wear my seatbelt anyway. And it's a proven fact that seatbelts saves lives, right? So why wouldn't you want to do that? And I think if we can look at this mask thing the same way, why wouldn't you want to do that? Everybody's sitting in a different situation in this pandemic and I've heard the argument of masks are not safe. Listen, I didn't go to med school. Okay. So therefore I must rely on the accurate information or what I believe to be the accurate information. And I start right there. There it is. Lambton Public Health. I go there and check out what's going on, what they're saying. If you go to the Premier of Ontario's channel or CPAC online, I simulcast those broadcasts. If you want to check that out on the Facebook page, I broadcast to the City of Sarnia Facebook page. So you can find this. And this is where the information is coming from that I believe to be accurate. So am I ranting again? Is this considered a rant? I'm talking about this because I think it's important. And there's a lot of different things. The thing about Facebook and social media is that everybody can now be a journalist because we can type something and we have, and there's a lot of great knowledge out there. So I'm just suggesting that maybe we look at the real facts or what we're considering to be the real facts, right? Does that make sense? Go to lambtonpublichealth.ca. The City of Sarnia, as I mentioned, has done a fantastic job of having an extra page up there about COVID-19 and what's happening locally. And again, we're putting the Premier of Ontario broadcasts on there as well, so you can hopefully get that information, and it's there for the replay as well if you can't watch it when it's live. Typically, the Premier of Ontario goes live Monday to Friday at 1 o'clock. Sometimes that gets changed when he's on the road, but let's go to our comments out there. Hello, Carl Freeman, all the way from Oshawa, Ontario. Loyal fan watching. I believe you, David. Well, thanks. I'm sure not everybody believes me, so it's nice to hear it. If you want to get some updated news as well, I do try to capture as much as I can and put it on the website there, the show live.live. All right. So I think at the end of the day, wear the mask. social distancing is still a must. One of the things I found was, like going out to the restaurant and the bars. I like to go to the bar and have some drinks and sit down. And then I got thinking, okay, so I walk in with my mask on, and then when I sit down, it's okay to take my mask off, which is great. But still make sure you're social distancing between you and that person beside you, because even if it's been a buddy of yours for 30 years, but the only time you see him is there, you don't know where he's been or whatnot. So make sure you're still social distancing. It's still a must. Wash your hands, all that sort of stuff, right? That's important as well. So, all right. Well, let's talk about some fun stuff that was going on. Of course, I talk about the Western Ontario Outlaws Extreme Lawn Tractor Racing. We had that last weekend, and also will be coming up, not this past weekend, the weekend before, sorry. And we'll be doing it again on Sunday, October the 4th. And then again, the following week, we'll be there on Thanksgiving weekend. Out in Petrolia, the races begin at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's only $10 per car. And for friends of mine who ride motorcycles, you're welcome as well. $5 per person on the motorcycle, right? So don't be, packing like 4 people on a motorcycle, obviously. But come on out and enjoy it live. And if you can, I will be there broadcasting and live streaming it as well. I might be getting back on one before the end of the season. Jason and I were on one for father versus son with Gary and Colin Vanden Heuvel from Preferred Towing. We had a lot of fun with that, but there was some questions as to whether or not there was foul play that happened along there. That's all I'm going to say about that, but I think a rematch might be good between at least myself and my son. I'm just saying. So Jason, be ready for that. Anyway, you can check that out online, westernontariooutlaws.com as well, to get a schedule of all their events that are happening. Well, last week we had Will Graham on here from Neon Crab Sarnia, a tattoo and piercing, and he come up with a great idea to have a chalk art happening down on Exmo Street, down by where they're located there, and had a fantastic turnout. All guidelines, social distancing happening. Look at this beautiful art that they were doing. Let me give you a full screen of that, actually, because I have a huge appreciation for art, because I can't do it. I couldn't stick people is difficult for me, quite honestly. But look at the beauty that happened out there just on Exmo Street. There's some more stuff. This is fantastic art that happened out there, and what a great idea. And I know they were down there presenting awards to people that participated and to the winners and everything. So what a great, unique idea to get people out and still be safe and social distance. And Will Graham, thank you so much for being a part of the show last week and putting on this fantastic idea. As I said, great ways to be able to adapt in these times of pandemic, right? One of the other great things that's happened or has happened back in June is going to be happening again. Big Night In 2, which was put on by Big Brothers back in June, and we were happy to be a part of that live stream production. They had a fashion show down at One Tooth, and they're going to be doing it again. This Thursday, I'll be live streaming again. It'll be live on the One Tooth Facebook page. Esby and Soph are all going to be there. Sarah Woodley will once again be your host, and I'll be behind the scenes producing the live stream to fundraise for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Huge success last time. And I guess it's a bit of a fundraiser, but last time was a huge fundraiser. They raised over $8,000 in a 1-hour live stream. So that was fantastic. So more of this and more fashion is going to be shown on Big Night In 2, put on by Big Brothers Big Sisters. We'll be live down at One Tooth, and you can again watch that live on the Facebook page. Looking forward to doing that again as well. Alrighty, well, it's that time where we talk and go out into the community and talk to some local folks that are making things happen and supporting other organizations. And as always, it's been about a month. It's time to bring them back on. Our friend Dave Brown, Executive Director for United Way Sarnia-Lambton. Thanks for being here, David.
Good afternoon, David. It's my pleasure to be here.
And I always appreciate you being here a little early, because sometimes I get talking, sometimes I'm short, and you're just, I know you're always ready to go here. So appreciate that. Let's talk about how we've had some really interesting conversations over the last few months, you and I. You hear me talking about adapting, and United Ways had to be one of those to adapt. How's things?
Well, right now we're tracking behind last year at this time, which is probably no surprise to anybody. However, we just hit the $450,000 mark this morning, which is 23.6% of our $1.9 million needs target. So even though we're behind, I believe the campaign is off to a good start. Um, we've had an uptick in our online giving, both within industry as well as through our website. Those people who may be employees working from home, or they own at-home businesses, or are retired. We've also seen a pretty steady stream of direct mail. Normally it
Okay.
slows down a little bit at this time and starts to pick up again, but it's been pretty solid since our first mailing went out about the middle of August. So, we're cautiously optimistic. We're still in the early innings, of course, but we're happy to be where we're at, I think is a fair assessment.
Well, and it's always a struggle for organizations to raise money. Everybody needs that. I always say, you kind of need it to live. It's up there with oxygen, that money thing. But the pandemic coming along certainly added to, well, you've given out a lot more money to even some organizations that typically don't, is it fair to say, qualify or just haven't needed to receive funds from United Way before?
Yeah, I'm not sure qualify is the right word. Certainly, 55% of the agencies that we've given COVID funding to are not actually member agencies of the United Way.
Right.
We haven't currently funded them in the past. So we're excited to be able to broaden our reach to not only our own 18 agencies, 36 programs and services, but to those non-funded agencies. And we found that that's really helped us strengthen our relationships with them. We've had a number of conversations with many to discuss how we may want to prolong our relationship beyond COVID-19, maybe involve them in day of caring activities when we resume that activity, hopefully in 2021. So it's done a lot for the community, and I think the community benefits overall. Typically across Canada, your viewers might be interested to know that 52% across Canada from all the other United Ways have gone to non-funded agencies. So, we're leading the curve a little bit by 2 or 3%, but it's great to see that across Canada, we're expanding our funding to those other agencies who are struggling to meet emergency needs because of the pandemic.
Yeah. You talk about across Canada. I'd be interested to know, you probably have conversations between yours and other agencies across Canada. Are you seeing similarities between them all, or is Sarnia-Lambton leading the way on things, or what's that conversation look like?
Well, from talking to me, I'll always tell you Sarnia-Lambton's leading the way. I might be a little biased, though.
That's all right.
But yeah, one of the things that has jumped out is a huge percentage of the funding has gone to critical services. I know about 40%, for example, of the funding has gone to food issues, food handling, food distribution across Canada, and Sarnia-Lambton is no different. And that would include a big piece of that critical services piece, which might include, counseling, distress line counseling. So certainly that has been I think, a bit of a trend that I don't know if I'd say is an eye opener, but certainly we're happy to see that our funding is going to that segment of the population. And as we get into the colder winter months, for example, our funding for River City Vineyard. We've been able to provide some funding for some women's beds, which they hope to be done, that renovation, by the time the cold weather hits. And currently they don't have women's facilities. So, we're glad that we're in a position, thanks to local donors and to the federal government, we've been able to assist them with that, as well as some washroom renovations, making sure that social distancing and other safe issues are in place. And I think that's across Canada. We're seeing that kind of funding going to those kinds of programs and services.
Yeah. Now you've got your board of directors of what, 12 people, is that right?
15.
15. Okay. And they're all local,
Yes.
which I've always thought was really a bonus for our United Way here in Sarnia-Lambton, because it's not somebody coming from another part of the world, i.e. Toronto, and coming down as, well, this is how, it's, and they're typically, already they're involved somehow in our community, so they have a pretty good idea of how the community works. I imagine there's been some really interesting conversations compared to what you had before the pandemic showed up to go, okay, wow, never thought we'd have to deal with this. How do we do that?
Absolutely right. Right now, the board is pretty focused on the campaign part of things, and how can we fundraise in different capacities. For example, very few industrial employee campaigns have paper pledge cards. Some do, and they're using brochures or whatnot, but the majority are using electronic means, which is brand new to us. We're learning new things every day. We've really increased our social media presence, particularly Facebook, because of those demographics. But yeah, there's been some conversations about going forward about the agencies that we fund and some of the programs that we're funding now and in the future. And you're right. I love the fact that we've got local board of directors making that local decision making. Often people think about the United Way in terms of the money raised in the community is used in the community. But you hit on a key point. The other part is that local decision making. And almost all of our board members are on other agency boards in the community and have a really good handle as to where our community needs are. And we're in constant communication with not only our funded agencies, but with our not funded agencies on where those needs are. So it's great to know that it's not people from, as you said, Toronto or Ottawa or elsewhere making those decisions. It's people right here. And I'm sure there are people, all of your viewers will know at least somebody on our board of directors.
Yeah, likely. Well, and I like to point that out because that local aspect is very important. And I think a lot of local organizations deal with that question: is the money staying local? And it can be local. It can also be used locally, but in other ways to make things grow, right? But and I like people to know that it's not just Dave Brown making the decisions out there, right?
No.
Because you're the leader of the band. You're the front guy, I guess, and they're the front face of it all, right? But I know you've got the board of directors, and you've got quite a team, as small as it is, but a very effective team. Let's talk a little bit about your team and what they do.
Absolutely, I've got a great team. There's 5 of us in total, including me. We don't do any direct service with the exception of day of caring, which we kind of see as a campaign function more than anything. Although the agencies and the people who get work done every year will tell you it very much is a direct service. But we really try to focus on raising as much money and other resources as we can, as cheaply as we can, so that we can have a greater return on investment of people's donations. And to your earlier point, it's not just my decisions. Truth be told, I don't get a vote at all at the board level. Right. Myself and staff will recommend things to the board with data. Many times they'll take our advice and vote on it, but not always is it unanimous, and not always do they take our recommendation. So The truth is, I don't get a vote at all. It's strictly those 15 volunteers, which I hold in very high regard.
Yeah, let's talk money now. You've got to raise all this money on your own. You normally don't get some support from the government, but you did get some this year because of the pandemic. Am I saying that right?
You're absolutely right. We get zero government funding in a typical year. However, this year we received about $30,000 in New Horizons seniors funding, and then about another $300,000 or so in what they call the Emergency Community Services Fund, or the ECSF, which also came from the federal government. And your viewers might be interested to know that later this week, there's a good chance that we might have a little extra money coming through that ECSF. So I would recommend viewers who belong to an agency or are active in a particular agency, who think that they might qualify for additional funding, so long as they hit those most vulnerable populations in COVID-19 related. Check out our website at www.theunitedway.on.ca, and there will be a link right on the website to our application form, as well as all of the funding that we've already done for those agencies. So they can see very quickly if the types of programs that they're thinking about would be eligible.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you follow along the government announcements pretty closely, right. And you saw today probably, the Ontario government has announced officially we are in a second wave of this pandemic. And
Right.
I don't know about you. I really got the tone of voice, if you will, coming from the premier and honestly from Minister of Health and Chief Medical Officer. Their voices were a little shaky. Like it was like they're really scared about what could be. Like I'm not sure that they know exactly what to expect. They know we're in a second wave, so that kind of thing could affect many organizations. But the United Way, who makes decisions to support certain organizations, seeing that, are you already preparing for that again?
Well, certainly we learned a lot from the spring when we were in the first phase in ways of working from home and ways of being safe and that kind of thing. We're very hopeful that in one way or another we'll always be able to keep our office open for those people who like to come by our office to make their donations in person and to ask us questions about what we're doing in the community and where their money's going. So that's important to us. But certainly we've learned a lot. A lot of our campaigning, as I mentioned, is done online now, and we can set up some of our campaigns for additional employee groups online. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to continue our business as seamlessly as possible. But certainly we are monitoring that as closely as we can. And as you know, that's caused a big paradigm shift in how we raise money through events. And in fact, we're not running many public events ourselves, although we may have an announcement in a couple of weeks with a partnership with another local group. But by and large, even how we're fundraising in the companies, everything is social distance, is wearing masks, is as hand-free and contactless as possible, which has really caused us, and we're fortunate to have so many volunteers within the workplaces who are really creative and got the contacts and are doing a lot of really creative things behind those company gates, all safely, but all geared to raise more money for us.
Yeah. Well, money is, it's like I said, it's certainly needed to keep things going. So a little back to the campaign a little bit there. You say you're kind of a little behind. You had this struggle last year, even before pandemic, where things were behind and did come up a little short, I think.
Actually, well, it looked like we were going to be short. In fact, technically we were short as of January the 1st, but when we counted all the mail that came in between Christmas and New Year's, we actually surpassed that $1.9 million needs target by just $2,000 or $3,000. So we are very grateful to the community, and we're hopeful that it's all going to come together again for us this year.
Well, it seems that you and yourself and myself and probably Paula, who's going to be coming up next year in a moment, and many other organizations would agree that Sarnia-Lambton, in real time of need, when you really need the help, does come together and support when you least expect it. Even sometimes, like we're really down and I don't know what we're going to do, and then all of a sudden that shows up, which really speaks to the volume of the members of our community. And that's another great thing about your board of directors, again, being local, is that the message really gets spread well, right?
You're absolutely right. And we know that Sarnia-Lambton is a very generous community. And we know that more so than just anecdotally. I've seen Statistics Canada data, which makes their facts known based on income tax returns. And we know that there's a greater percentage of tax filers in Ontario who make contributions, and their average or median donations is greater than the provincial and Canadian average. So that's hard facts that are indisputable on what a great community we are. And I can't remember your other question about the board.
Well, I was just saying, and that just kind of speaks to the board, again, being local, and because they're involved in other organizations, that kind of contributes to helping spread the message of the United Way.
Absolutely. And I think some of that is evident on some of our social media posts, where they're very widely shared by a lot of board members and by supporters and donors from all across Sarnia-Lambton.
Yeah. Well, Dave, as always, I appreciate you being here and appreciate your hard work and efforts, especially to your team as well. They're kind of the unsung heroes back there, but we always try to let folks know that there is a hardworking team there. Is there anything else coming up or anything else you want to add before I move on to my next guest?
Just that we've had a number of employee campaigns that have just recently kicked off. Imperial, Nova Chemicals, Daniel Styrolution, Cabot, CF Industries, and others. So we're just trying to promote them as best we can and provide whatever service we can. And as always, David, it's always a pleasure to join you here on the show. And I look forward to talking to you and sharing some of our information to your viewers.
For sure. Thanks again, Dave. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you. Dave
Brown, the Executive Director for the United Way of Sarnia-Lambton, and there's their website on the screen, theunitedway.on.ca, to find out more information. You can send them an email. You can give them a phone call as well. And I know they'd be happy to hear your input, suggestions, or maybe you want to volunteer and help out in some way. We'll also be posting the links to the United Way on our Facebook page after the show as well. Well, you've heard me say earlier, I'll say it again, when we talk about adapting and still need that money to make things work, including the Canadian Cancer Society and our friend Paula McKinlay. Welcome back.
Hi, how are you?
I'm always excited to see you. You've always got a happy smile on your face and positive attitude. What's positive in your world right now?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for putting me after Dave. I mean, Dave always has such amazing information. And I always used to teach, when we go to functions, to same functions, I'd be like, oh, can you be on the radio one more time? Do I have to hear your update one more time? So it's an ongoing joke. So it's always, always great and an honor to be in the same company as him. So awesome. We were on the same show together.
I can make that work every time if you want. I can put you first if you'd really like. He can go in the back.
All right. I think we can hold our own, can't we, Mr. Burrows? I think.
I think so. Well, you always bring so much positive energy to the show, and I appreciate that. And I know you take that passion into your work at the Cancer Society here in Sarnia-Lambton as well. And you heard me talk with Dave Brown about adapting. We've all had to do that somehow. How's the Cancer Society adapting out there?
You know, we're doing like everyone else. We're doing the best that we can during COVID times. The last time I think you and I spoke like this was during Relay. And I mean, that was in the beginning. If you think about it, it seems like so long ago. But, 6 months ago when we're in the heart of all of this and didn't know much, and doing our, first major fundraiser of the year. After having to postpone so many fundraising initiatives, but relayers and the community stepped up to plate, and now I get to be on the run group. But the society obviously has had to make changes. We're all still working from home. I snuck into the office today to make sure I had my signage behind me. But it's, so we're not open. The doors aren't open for the public to come in. We're just not there yet. And, and the society has had to make some layoffs. I mean, you can't be a national organization and be down 80 million funds and have high, a high overhead. How do you keep your charity number, right? So sadly, we've had to make some difficult decisions, and the government has helped us along with that to keep them, our fellow colleagues on board. But there's been changes, but you know what? We are heads held high and we are forging forward, because that's what we have to do. Because you and I have discussed it so many times. COVID may be here and stopping the world, but cancer doesn't stop. When it comes to
nothing else, homelessness, cancer, anything, right? It's all still existing. And
you got it. And right now, we're 75 Canadians will be diagnosed today with breast cancer alone. So we need to keep
today.
Focusing. Yep.
In a day.
In a day.
Wow.
Yep. So, but we've come such a far way, a long way, and we got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you noticed, like I'm wearing quite a bit.
You have upped me. Like I don't even have my pink wear on, and I'm looking at you.
I've got to have some pink on today because she's gonna.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's no secret that cancer, probably you could walk down the street and pass 10 people and ask them, do you know anybody who's ever had cancer? And I would be surprised if anybody said no. Yep, whether it wasn't their family, they know a neighbor, or a friend, like we hear that. We used to be afraid to say that word. I think even it was the C word, right? You know,
whisper it.
Now, it's better that we don't, I think, right? But is it still a challenge? I mean, it's always a challenge to get people to donate, right, towards the cause, whatever cause that is. Is that still a challenge, but it looks different?
Challenge wise, I mean, COVID's put a challenge. I mean, if we're talking COVID times, every time we have so many incredible believers in this country and in this in this town, in this county, that are complete supporters of the Canadian Cancer Society and what we have to offer, you know, through our amazing, incredible research. I mean, we only invest in the best. So if you're not the best, then don't bring it. You know, and our services, our WIG department, our Wheels of Hope, our peer matching. I mean, we're not a one-stop, we're a one-stop shop because we can find what you need. And those things are, you know, still available. And we're, like I said, we're just doing the best that we can. And, you know, those that believe, they donate.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to ask you this question, and I've asked it before, so I know you're probably prepared for it. You heard me talk to Dave Brown about money staying local. Yep. And I know you get that question often, and it's a good question, but you have a good answer for where all the money goes when we donate to the Cancer Society in Sarnia-Lambton. Go for it. That's
right. So yes, of course, we're a national organization. So, I mean, we fund things that are from coast to coast. We also have our Wheels of Hope program that is 100% local. So the money that comes in locally absolutely stays locally and gets our cancer patients to treatment and home again. Right now, that's just because of social distancing issues, that is on hiatus for now. But that's just that's just temporary. And once we get back up and running on it, those funds need to be there so that people can get to their life-saving treatment. But one thing I really, and I've learned in my 10 years, I know, can you believe it, in my 10 years here at the Canadian Cancer Society is, if the money doesn't stay here locally, we don't have a research arm in Sarnia-Lambton. And one of our biggest expenses is research. And Sarnia-Lambton doesn't have a research arm. So to say that money needs to stay local to fund research in our mission work, then that's just ridiculous because we don't have it. So it needs to go to the best place that in Canada that's doing that best research. So I always challenge people, and I learned this a few years ago, and it was like, holy smokes. As a diabetic, I am not on insulin yet, but I was taught as a diabetic, did you care where the insulin was founded? Do you care where it was created, or do you care the fact that it can be your life-saving medicine?
Right.
So that really opened up my eyes, and I went, you know what? If they can find a better treatment, a cure, whatever it happens to be, and that is in Calgary, Alberta, then send my money to Calgary, Alberta, because that's where it needs to be.
If it's in Australia.
It needs to be, you know, and you know us, we are the best of the best. There are so many research projects that sit in our vault that we can't fund. And, you know, I would say probably 70%, 75% that, and during COVID times is a little bit different, but that we can't fund because there's still not enough money. But when we're talking about breast cancer alone, because we are going into Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Run for the Cure that's been happening for 28 years has funded $428 million in 28 years. So, I mean, and that's going to amazing research. There are breast cancers, because breast cancer is multiple, but there's breast cancers that are now considered that they can be curable. So, I mean, and that's the hard work and dedication of our donors from coast to coast, including Sarnia-Lambton.
It's a great answer, and it's an honest answer, right? You know, like,
absolutely.
You know, my dad had cancer, right, as you know, and I don't really care where the cure comes from.
Absolutely.
If it keeps my dad around.
And all of that stuff. I mean, you can imagine, you know, we've been here to see it, you know, 10, 15 years ago when you got radiation, it was the cobalt and your whole entire body got blasted. And now it can pinpoint, and we're pinpointing to chemotherapies just so that the chemo goes in those particular spots. And it's just, I mean, we have come so far, but it takes funds in order for that to happen.
Well, you've heard me say money isn't everything, but it is up there with oxygen.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk. We got to keep going and Run for the Cure. Never Stop Running is happening on October the 4th this year, supported by CIBC. How is this happening this year? Explain what's happening.
Well, so of course, virtual, just like we did Relay. The run here in Sarnia-Lambton, we're actually blessed. I mean, Taking Steps has been happening for the last couple of years in Sarnia-Lambton. And unfortunately, with the restrictions and changes within the organization, Taking Steps won't be happening this year. So, I mean, that was 2 years, 100 people per year, raised between 12 and 16 in their years. With this Run for the Cure, I mean, we're going national. So, and we're going virtual. Yeah. So it does not matter where in the country you live. If you want to lace them up and get walking your 1K and 5K and join us on October 4th, get registered. I mean, I looked at the numbers the other day, and no, Sarnia-Lambton or Sarnia does not have an actual physical run site. In the past, many years ago we did, but say in the last 5 years we didn't have this event. There are 43 Sarnians, well, I'll say Sarnia-Lamptians, that are participating in the Run for the Cure virtually this year. And we don't even have a run site.
Awesome. Well, there's that thing I talked about earlier, Sarnia-Lambton stepping up, right?
Absolutely. You know, we have some Sarnians that are actually joining in with their family and friends that are registered with the Toronto Run. We have a whole team that is associated with the Chatham Run. And then there's miscellaneous of us that are kind of just scattered supporting runs throughout the country. So this year, it's there's no boundaries. It's just go for it.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be great success this year. And now this is being put on by the National Cancer Society, and then you're how is that working? Like, how's that coordination? I
mean, we're now PAN-CAN, right? I mean, we always have been. But say, for example, for myself right now, I'm working on being the support for Windsor, Chatham, Peterborough, Brandon, and Winnipeg. And it is so exciting. I mean, living in a virtual world, this is easy. Right. You know, now I'm dealing with time zone, but that's okay because you know what? They're fun and it's exciting. And so just like Relay is a national event. It goes coast to coast. The Run does the same. So Relay is our signature event in the spring, and the Run is our signature event in the fall. And it's just a matter of the committees are amazing and they work very hard. And really, I'm just along for the ride and enjoying their passions and their dedication and hearing amazing stories from coast to coast.
Or you should say you're along for the run.
You're right. You're right.
Paula, you know, obviously, and I'm sort of repeating myself, but a lot has had to adapt. Everybody's had to adapt in some way, shape, or form. Someone in your position who really works hard at, I know even before pandemic, you and I've talked about how you keep coming up with unique and original ideas. Did the pandemic, is it fair to say, were you forced into being more unique and creative?
I would say so. I mean, the whole virtual, I was very honored to be on the, putting Relay out there in a virtual world, being our first kick at the can per se, with the organization. And then learning from that has only even made Run even better than it could have been. And we're also 6-7 months into the pandemic. Yeah. And but you know what? Working with groups and providing, some things that my experience is, to share fundraising abilities and fundraising ideas virtually is pretty fun. I mean, to think that so much of it is happening on Facebook and YouTube and, porch drops and all those things that you kind of were too busy for once upon a time, or just had a garage sale and you were done with it. I mean, we've had groups that have gone to garage sales online and, and have been raising, great amounts of money. So even sitting back and learning from all these different groups on how creative they are has been very exciting.
Yeah. Well, good for you and keeping the positive attitude going and bringing that energy to everybody involved. I think you're doing a fantastic job. And I know you've got a team that supports you as well, right? So that's fantastic. Well, as I always like to say, thanks for being here. But before I let you go, any final thoughts that you want to put out there?
I mean, one is if people can tune in, just get registered for this event. You can do a registration or a fundraising. So it's $45. Join us, and it's a tax receivable. The broadcast on Sunday is going to be emceed by Julie Black, and she's going to perform, as well as Bare Naked Ladies and Jess Muskaluk. Is that how you say it?
Maybe.
And Carolyn John Johnson. So there's some country, but it's all Canadian. And so they're joining us. We have an avatar that you can dress up. We're having a lot of fun with it. And one of the things that I do love, and I'm hoping this is moving to relay as well, is a virtual wall of hope. So you can go on Run for the Cure and click the virtual wall of hope and leave a message for your survivor. And so to see everybody's comments from coast to coast for their survivor or their hope participant has been truly inspiring. So I may not get the people right now walking in because of COVID, who are usually my inspirations. You've seen my wall of hope before.
Yep.
My wall of inspiration. So now this has become it, and it is truly amazing. And the one thing I can say is Sarnia-Lambton, keep rocking it. Because this area is so passionate and so committed. And we have a huge breast following and supporters. So you're not going to see us on the streets this year with our pink ribbons. It's just not safe for the volunteer or the donor. So you know what? Stop in, get registered on the Run for the Cure, and this can be your way to give back this month.
Right on. And you've even got accolades from Dave Brown. He says, Paula is too kind. Thank you, Paula. And best of luck to you in the Canadian Cancer Society. There you go.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Dave. Like I said, he's always, him and I, we can banter back and forth. So no, he's a great inspiration. And
maybe next time I'll just put the two of you. I'll just put the two of you on here, and I'll just sit back and just controls, and you guys can do it.
Hey, David Burrows. Pick what color you're going to wear, then I'll know.
Pick what color. Okay. Yep. I'll let you know for sure. Paul, it's always great to see you. All the best to you and your family.
Thanks, my friend. Say hi to Jen.
Paula McKinlay, she's awesome. I say it every time to come on here and bring the energy, right? And you can bring your energy to Never Stop Running. It's happening on October the 4th, and Run for the Cure. Just go to their Facebook page. I'll be posting the links again, as I said, shortly after the show as well, so you can get that information, get signed up as a participant or as a fundraiser as well. Paula, thanks again for being here. Really do appreciate you. And I do appreciate all of you for being here. And I want to give a shout out to some of my biggest supporters here as well, Ozwelds Diner, who also are motorcycle enthusiasts. And they like to remind everybody motorcycles are still on the road. So watch out for motorcycles, drive aware and ride aware. Thank you, Ozwelds Diner. And to the rest of our supporters, Huron Signs SWO, ActivEars here in Sarnia. Thank you, Christine Fiji. Barry Bentley from Hughes Intelligence Canada, our friends at Joe's Discount Tire, and Philly Cheese Jakes. And I don't put them up there, but I'd like to say thank you to my son, Jason, from Jayman's Affordable iPhone Repair, who behind the scenes often helps me with broadcasts and live streams that maybe you don't always see him on. So thank you, Jayman. And again, thanks to all of you. This will be available for replay on Facebook and on my YouTube channel. And speaking of my YouTube channel, shameless plug coming up here right now. I have set a goal to reach 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel by the end of the year, December 31st. I'm currently at about 740 YouTube subscribers. Now, why would you subscribe to my, say that 5 times fast, subscribe. Why would you subscribe to my YouTube channel? The show is there as well, and I appreciate that. But I've recently added some more other videos. I'm a drone pilot, so I've been flying my drone and trying to show some of the attractive places, if you will, here in Sarnia-Lambton, and sometimes out of town as well. So you can check that out. Also, I've got my motorcycle cam that I've been doing and adding to that as well. And there's going to be some changes in what I do. If you watched earlier, you'll know that I did my final episode with my friend Stephen Healy from the United Kingdom. Him and I have been doing a show together every week for the last 3 years. And today was our final episode. And it was really of mixed emotions that I had to make that decision. Stephen and I are continuing our friendship. I've just got to focus on some different things. So that's a bit of a clue for all of you guys who appreciate my content. You're going to be able to appreciate some more unique looking content that I'm going to show you out in Sarnia-Lambton. Like everybody else, I got to adapt too. So if you want to make sure you get notified, head on over to my YouTube channel, click the subscribe button, and make sure you click the little bell icon beside it. So you'll get notified every time I go live or put out a video on YouTube. There's going to be some really cool stuff there. I'm so excited. I wish I could tell you more, but that's all I can tell you for right now. So now that I'm done talking, that's all the time I got for you this week, everybody. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I will see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.